FPX here now on the blue side, Ultra Prime on the red side. We'll be getting neck deep into it. The picks at least are coming through. We got that Lucian Milio combo for FPX.
Oh, so Doggo is a big Draven player. He's played that in the past as well. But Lucian Milio is the bot lane to play right now. It feels like you can maybe trade Lucian Nami for a Phelios Milio. But giving over the Lucian Milio, that is very, very dangerous. We know how good our Lucian players are. Of course, Deokdam came over from the LCK. He's had some great games, of course, in the LCK. And then once his champion pool started to fall off, it felt like he struggled to find his place even then. Now it's going to be not going up against the Draven, but the Zeri instead. Interested to see how Doggo and Jwei will play with assuming less lane pressure this time. This Lucian Milio should be pushing in early.
Not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping for the Rammus combo. It's always there, right? It's always there, just saying. The Vi, actually something that's been perma-banned away this entire day, still available and open, that single target access, but it's not necessarily something that we've seen a lot of because of that ban priority. The Gnar does end up coming through for Xioalaohu.
Does, and the thing is, I look at the Azir and the Gnar, and I think Yuekai had a really good Akali game earlier in the week. There is a chance that he could really start popping off and assassinating people. No one on this FPX team right now is completely free from this Akali's assassination later in. And they don't have the best amount of CC to stop Yuekai from doing his own job. So, big amount of responsibility on him. It's going to be the Lulu, the Zeri Lulu locked in for the side of Doggo and Jwei. Of course, that's a combo which we saw so much last year until we finally banished Zeri into the Shadow Realm. She's back, and this time with experimental Hex Plates. It's a good front-to-back composition from Ultra Prime with a little bit of dive threat from Decade and Yuekai. Whereas on the other side, I think the one-item spike from FPX is absolutely absurd. So watch out to see how Deokdam Life can get out onto the map and start bursting people out. They need to get good vision control, use that one-item spike well, and make sure that Ultra Prime don't get themselves clean team fights later.
And I would really like to see at least some adaptation be given from that first series, or at least from the first game of the series. I think we have gotten that at least in the draft, but the execution is where it really matters. So I'm actually seeing, for me at least now, Ultra Prime a little bit on the back foot here, but something where the pop-up potential is absolutely there. We have much more of a meta-defined composition from the side of FPX.
Feels like FPX have themselves a lot of just raw champion value. The Xin Zhao is something which has incredible early game potential. It feels like the early lanes for FPX have incredible early potential, particularly in that bot side. But of course, someone like the Gnar can do plenty of damage in the top side early too. Let's see if they can actually get a handhold in this early game, though, in a way that they couldn't in game one.
And as we get into game number 2, you got to remember Ultra Prime still have not found their first series win of the split. They are now one game away from claiming that here, and FPX do not want to go out without a fight. They are a scrappy team. They dragged out their last series victory, and they're going to try to bring back a mini reverse sweep here in this best 3. And as we hit the Rift for game 2, we're back in Shanghai, and we're back to hear the Jios for this match.
Crowd is a little bit more muted than that last game because maybe that early game quieted them down a little bit. Ultra Prime, you know, the question has been for them and for the entire league. You can get leads sometimes. How do you close them? Ultra Prime, they had themselves a pretty definitive answer to that. It was very, very hard for FPX to fight back in that one. MilkyWay, he's on himself an aggressive carry jungler in this Xin Zhao. Well, carry is the carry in the early game sense, can struggle to carry later on into the game. But this guy, lots of eyes on him as well. MilkyWay was so good in the LDL and has been very good in some games as well up in the LPL so far. I want to see him get active early.
Yuekai getting activated on early at least. He's going to try to take the angle here. Flashes could be there, and there it is. First blood to Deokdam.
Oh gosh, W start from Yuekai, starts flashes late as well. This is very, very awkward from the mid laner of Ultra Prime, who just came off of a player of the game in game 1. So now Ultra Prime, they have been rattled early. This isn't going to be as smooth a start. How do they recover?
It's really rough, and also maybe showing a little bit of that presence of the blue side being strong early on with the vision and different tools available to them with the positioning of some of that land mass. But I do want to hyper-focus a little bit on this matchup specifically, because We haven't gotten to see Lucian Emilio in a long time, most of the time because it's either banned or it's just not right situation. But the Zeri has been an interesting pickup, at least in today, and at least recency in the LPL.
I think that particularly right now, because I think we can't even get to see how it would be normally, because 3 summoners are gone from Deokdam and Life very early on, and they haven't gone for a base yet too. So what Doggo and Jwei will want to do is make sure that they can delay the back for long enough. Now, Deokdam and Life can't come back, reset with extra combat stats. Someone like Deokdam can, of course, potentially get himself a really good base with a support item and something like a Kerchi shard as well if he gets enough gold. Doggo and Jwei want to delay that for as long as possible.
And you see both junglers headed down that way. Both junglers very strong in those early skirmishes, and I expect there to be 3v3 coming on a horizon very, very shortly.
See exactly what they can do, though. Again, it's not like the Milio can really force plays in the way that an engaged support can. Lucian can jump forward, but without his summoners available, I think Doggo and Jwei with the barrier and heal, they're very happy to stand and fight. MilkyWay would have to be the one finding a good angle to make something work.
I think I could see it over the Scuttle Crab at least, but some pressure being played with earlier before that. Doggo actually not going to hit that Ultra Shock laser, and the poke just going back and forth now. I do want to check in on lane status now that we are getting pings around the Scuttle Crab. We do have a push in the mid lane by FPX. Meanwhile, the opposite can be said bot side. Hacker and MilkyWay going to be on each other's 6s here.
So it looks like Yuekai, the reason why he's managed to pick up so much CS is that he's teleported back early, so Care will have a preferential back timing. Yuekai didn't buy anything with that recall. I think it was probably just regenning on HP, but that's why he's managed to keep up in CS in case anyone was a little confused as to that. Because I was for a second. I was thinking, hang on, how's he got back into even lane state? That's exactly why. MilkyWay gonna use the pressure that his mid lane has brought to make himself a nuisance in the enemy jungle. Might be able to fight for Raptor spawns, but probably gone by the time he gets there.
Oh, decided not to auto-attack there. Doesn't end up going in afterwards, trying to use the power of the Xin Zhao early. Won't get the angle. They could play like that because Yuekai's health bar is really rough right now.
Exactly. It's really easy to go aggressive when you know that no one can come and respond to the stuff that you're doing. Luckily for Hacker, he managed to get himself that bot side scuttle, so it's not going to be a double scuttle with that mid lane pressure, making it easier to look towards those kind of things. Of course, the bot lane from Ultra Prime helping him out in regards to that as well. So, right, we have ourselves slight early game gold lead with some CS, and of course the first blood going over to the side of Deokdam as well. We haven't seen him get that recall in yet, though. I'd like to see him get that on this push, because he really needs to get the combat stats in place.
Goodness gracious, he is so close to the edge. He just needed that little bit of extra gold to get that back off, so we'll get that reset in mid lane at least.
So, important thing here, you typically want to back just before a cannon wave comes in. This was a regular wave, we just met in the middle of the lane, but because Care has himself a teleport and Yuekai doesn't, that's going to be slight CS going over to the side of Care, and Yuekai losing out a little bit of gold and CS. So again, just some incremental advantages being built up by FPX. The early game's going fine for them right now. We do finally have that bot side reset coming in from Deokdam. They're reset at the same time as Care. So they're both off the map at the same time as that dragon goes over, but the laning items are now so strong from Deokdam. Kerchi shard on both sides, but an extra longsword and the support item built up from Deokdam. This Lucian is ready to start accelerating into the game.
You get the opposite of last game, both teams, I guess, because we are on the opposite sides this time too. 3 grubbies going over to FPX. Meanwhile, the first dragon goes over to Ultra Prime. Yuekai going up against a level 6 Care. I think he was just waiting to pull the trigger on that one.
Potentially so. This Akali sadly not going to be able to get themselves to their first item spike particularly quickly, because they were denied a little bit of gold earlier on, of course, and from some of the wave stuff that we talked about already. Once Akali hits first item, very interested to see if Yuekai can recover. He had a great game earlier in the week on the same champion. Lots of assassination targets available in this one.
You know, I was thinking earlier, and I think it's a really good idea to continue our Grubby Tubbies
yeah, what have you got for me?
Well, obviously you got to use what's around. I know you were talking about the sun and everything. Well, the Scuttle Crab is literally right in front of the pit. So Scuttle Crab has to be like a normal guest, like he's like the sun. He's always there in the Grubby Tubbies.
Actually, brother, you know, it is just like a little baby. It's just a little dude.
Just a little baby Rift Herald, you know. That hasn't been transformed by the void.
Oh, the skull could just be just kind of like waddling across the sky, just minding its own business. Until, of course, a jungler comes in. That does mean that if a jungler kills Scuttle Crab, the sun does go out, so, you know, be careful with that. Hacker is, in fact, turning the world into darkness as he kills the topside Scuttle.
Oh, goodness. Okay, well, at least we got that out of the way. We can continue to build up on our show. Meanwhile, we have a 3-2
level 6
dive down bot side. It is a little bit rough for Ultra Prime. Doggo isn't level 6 just yet, and they're going to try to get the engage. Wind becomes lightning. Deokdam trying to flash out of the turret shot. The Ultra Mega Fire Kick gets the kill for life.
And Doggo goes down under turret. It's not going to be a huge amount of farm lost on that wave, but he won't be respawned in time to get this next one either. The gold goes over, of course, to life on the Milio, which is, I mean, you would have liked it to go towards this Lucian to accelerate him even further, but still, it's gold away from the Zeri, gold towards the bot lane combined of FPX.
And you love to just give Lucian a little bit of gold early. The hop, skip, and a jump gets Xioalaohu out of there. The all-out still going forward for Decade. And I was wondering if that Q3 was going to be the difference maker. Hacker can come through. He has Flash and the Glacial Prison, but not going to pull it just yet.
Yeah, there's no way you go into the Mega Gnar as it's coming up. You can see that Gnar bar charging. You need to have the timing where you know you'll have the entirety of your all-out while the mini Gnar is down. You don't really want to tangle with the increased stats of the big boy.
That is a big boy. We'll take a look back at the replay, actually, Botlane.
So, MilkyWay, he's starting to try and charge up his Q. I wonder if he could have stacked up his Q a little bit easier and then dashed onto Doggo, maybe stacked it on Jwei, but still, the kill comes through either way. Lose a little bit of HP for it. It was potential worry for a while. They get the dive off all the same.
We now actually have to look at the other side of the map. We have about 2 minutes for a dragon, but about a minute for that second spawn of Grubbies, the second episode of the Telegrubbies. Do you think, I mean, we already have 3 for FPX. We've talked a little bit about how much that affected last game, especially with the composition that FPX had, or that Ultra Prime had. Does it do the same this time for FPX?
It's not quite as egregious as the Milio Tristana, because that is such tower destruction potential. But when you have something like the Lucian as well, after you've done your big burst combo, and it looks like this combo is going to be very important this game because they are going to have early items due to the gold that they've picked up, then you can force people off turret and hit that for free. So yes, it's going to have pretty good value. And the Gnar is also going to be a split pusher too. So Ultra Prime, they really want to make sure that they don't open the gates to the Zerg rush once more.
Don't want to see that one go down yet again. I don't think we have the tools to deal with something like that.
You know the best thing about that? Because this is Cosmic Emperor Azir. That looks so much like a Protoss as well. Like, this is all in there. We've got to learn the matchups. We've got to learn...
I'm not going to lie. That's the reason. I never even played Azir, but I bought that skin because of that.
It's so cool, right?
And yeah, that was one of the first skins he had, actually. So one of the grubs has not been taken. MilkyWay was feeling a little bit hesitant to continue doing that as Ultra Prime, now taking a brunt of damage. MilkyWay gets baited! He got completely baited by Yuekai! Oh my god!
For a second, it looked like he got the 3-person ultimate that might just chunk people enough for it to get cleaned up. Instead, he goes in and gets absolutely massacred. Dude. MilkyWay, he's normally been very good on his burst champions, but that's a big miscalculation.
Yuekai just broke both his ankles in 1 millisecond. That was actually insane. I would love to see a replay of that. Hopefully we get that one, but it is just a big comeback in the mid lane, at least from Ultra Prime, who were struggling to find answers.
They were, but now because that's kind of fallen apart, it means that the Lucian Nami won't get an extended run at this mid lane. The culling is pretty okay here, right? You're able to get a decent amount of damage, but the shielding coming out from the Lulu makes it harder to work around that. Yuekai, as you said, just mashes MilkyWay, gets out of the combo, and with the Shroud down as well, survives to the same degree. That extra golden pock from the assist going to help going towards the first item. Ultra Prime, they're going to get themselves to a second dragon. They aren't going to be able to stop Grubs going over to the side of FPX though. So, objectives traded, FPX, their tower damage is going to keep going up.
It's actually really big to get the split on that here as well. The dragons being stacked up twice for Ultra Prime, pretty good. Another Cloud Dragon, maybe not so good. Actually pretty good for their composition, I feel like. Big thing that is good, Storm Surge. That just got completed for Yuekai.
Yes, I think, so this is 14.1b still. I believe we're still not on 14.2. So what that means is that you still have one of the better versions of Storm Surge. It's taken a lot of hits now. I think when we come back to later patches, this item's going to see less play. Not that Akali doesn't have other options, but in this game, it means that you can play towards just these really nasty burst combos. The assassination of this Akali is going to be a huge factor for Ultra Prime versus FPX.
Couple other item completions to walk through. We got the Frozen Heart completed for Hacker, but big thing for me, the Storm Razor actually completed for Doggo as a first item on this carry.
Yeah, so it's not going to be the Bruiser build, which I'm sure everyone has an awful lot of thoughts about. We saw enough of that with the Triforce Titanic after. You see that Dogdam, as it stands, he's got himself his own Storm Razor. Hasn't quite completed the Blood Razor. Not the Blood Razor, that's a very old item. The Blood Song, rather. That one, when it's completed with the extra Sheen effect, it really feels like Lucian, especially with the Fire Cannon after that point, will start to really shred through this mid lane.
And that's where I start wondering, how does Doggo get into those? Because the second you step up, you're going to get bursted down by Deokdam. So you got to find a way in with the Lightning Crash and everything like that to really have a good angle to get that AoE off. But that's where also you got to look to Yuekai. It'll be a massive pressure point onto Deokdam if he can get the angle, or onto Care. Now, we did get those item completions on the other side for FPX. The Sundered Sky there for MilkyWay, so some skirmishing potential there. The Nashor's Tooth, common first place item for Care as well on the Azir.
I'm just going to dip back to what you're in regards to how this area can get back into the game as well, or get into the game in general. I'm really looking to see how, because I think this Ultra Prime comp is a bit of a cleanup comp in some ways, right? Where you survive the initial burst from something like the Lucian and the Xin Zhao trying to go in, and then suddenly the Akali is in the middle of the team, ready to pull that R2, and then the Lightning Crash comes down. For me, it's about how much can you avoid or mitigate the impact of the initial damage from FPX before you start going in towards this play. I think it helps that they're getting some gold in these plates around the map, but they're giving up a lot to the side of FPX. That worries me, because if you have big damage on the side of Lucian and this Azir, it's much harder to buy the time for you to actually get a cleanup fight.
Yeah, I think the scariest thing is you've gotten 4 plates on top side and a bunch in mid and bot too. So FPX have been gathering up the gold as best they can. We do get a little presence around this Rift Herald that is spawned up, and FPX should have first priority over it.
Should do. I mean, Azir's been pushing in top side, gets the wave there pushed again. Care can push out that, can take down that pink ward, and with Lucian, Lucian is by far the best mid lane controlling AD carry. You start walking into his lane and he just obliterates you.
Yep.
You can't walk up to him. And that means that you have safer entry towards this river. They're not going to start up this objective right now, but with the ability for Lucian to just control this wave, it looks like they have pretty free reign over it.
We can get the Scuttle Crab up here, maybe hover over Care to make sure nothing else is going to come of it, because on the back end of a Rift Herald play is where Ultra Prime can make up for it. Now they're going to go on to him here. MilkyWay right around the corner. There's the dive coming through. Care going to flash out. Perfect execution. And Yuekai is smurfing today.
The headsman's block is calling. Yuekai puts Care down to the sword, or to the kunai, whichever one it was that ended up killing him. That is going to be the Herald taken over towards them. And even though you have the Lucian Milio controlling this mid lane, Care oversteps topside and starts to unravel the good work of Deokdam and Life.
All I want to know is, how was this guy a substitute last year? Man, my God. Like, this guy has literally been smurfing it the season long so far. And yes, they've had losses, but my God, it's refreshing to see somebody who's so aggressive and playing out of the mid lane in a new face, at least newer face, as we get to see it once again. And he's put up a highlight reel this game already.
Yeah, you can see that MilkyWay knows that potentially there's an angle coming in towards topside. He's just too late to stop anything from happening. Hacker, great angle towards the top side of the map. You even have a redemption coming in for an extra bit of damage, which I appreciate coming in from Lulu. The orbital laser coming in to try and take down the Protoss on the top side of the map. Sadly, not able to connect, but it looked cool.
It did look really cool. What else looks cool is this third dragon for Ultra Prime. They are looking for that objective stacking here for themselves. And definitely after giving up those 6 grubbies, it is not going to be a lot of fun to deal with the way that they can take down the side lane. Now, Xioalaohu has Meganar coming up and a TP.
And he's going to take this top lane turret for free. Ultra Prime, they seed that one over. Question is, can FPX find anything in this time? I don't think they're looking for a contest. I think what they really want to do is just try and chip down some of these turrets themselves. Again, they have the grubs, they have the Zerg coming in. an unlikely alliance between them and this rest of this
That's
team.
just not fair. It's a 2v1 right now. You got Zerg and Protoss versus one team. It's not fair.
Never played multiplayer. Well, Doggo's going to make himself into a wave clear machine in this mid lane, see what he can do with that, but he's not really able to clear through it that easily. The turret damage is absolutely absurd, and the amount of gold they just picked up from that is really high.
That's 2 tier 2s and an outer tower as well. FPX do a great job of cleaning up the base parts, and now that's 5 turrets to 0.
That's a really big amount of map pressure, which is going to go over to the side of FPX as well, because one of the things which is very important when you're playing around stuff like Akali and of course the Lucian too, you want just some shallow vision to make sure that they can make a play and have it not responded to. When you have all your turrets still up, it's really hard to put vision beyond those turrets. They are so annoying to get past and get into the enemy jungle. So Ultra Prime, they need to break open the map a little more if they want to continue finding some of these plays in side lanes.
There was something terrifying that I saw while you were talking there, and it was the gold graph on the side. There is a 000 Gnar who is almost 3,000 gold above anybody else in this game right now. And that is, you know, that's one way to do the game.
I mean, he is just going to be sat there, just like sat with a finger on the big red button going, go on, fight into me. Let's see what happens.
Should I do it now? He's like hovering over. He's like teasing. Oh.
It's like, yeah, we'll see where this goes. I'm very interested to see how Xioalaohu can make his impact felt on the game. Of course, something like the Gnar into the K'Sante can't really do much about you unless you make the mistake as Gnar. If you recall in a bad spot or you get too close to him when you're mini Gnar just after you've gone out of your Mega Gnar, then that's a problem. But as it stands right now, I mean, Xioalaohu's been managing this matchup well. I mean, we saw Wayward sadly kind of fail a little bit in regards to this in our first series of the day. It's not like it's unpunishable. It's not like it's an auto-winning matchup. But as it stands, Ultra Prime, they need to try and find some ways to stop this Gnar just being such an annoyance in the side lanes.
I think there is also just a timer on board right now for FPX to really think about, because you have about 3 minutes till that dragon, which means that we'll have a soul if Ultra Prime get it at about like 2150 or so, which means we have an Elder at 21 or 26. So it's something to think about as we go down. But Doggo needs to think about how he is going to approach Deokdam without dying, and it's going to be because Jwei has the wild growth on him.
And again, the reason you can do this is look at the minimap, folks. Look how many blue wards are just littered all over the place. Deokdam knows exactly where everyone who could stop him is, and they're not close enough to do so. He's walked in with his massive item power spikes, and Doggo has to blow his barrier, Jwei has to blow his ult. Ultra Prime, they want to find some angles for this area to hop over a wall, for Akali to start assassinating people too. But FPX, they're not making it easy with the vision control.
And their sustained damage is pretty good too. As we get to some team fights coming up here soon, I'm sure, you know, those second, third item spikes are going to be really big for Care and Deokdam, as we already see a ton of pings from FPX coming that way as well.
And the Observer taking us on a bit of a tour, bit of a safari.
A walk around,
drive around. You know, you're going out into the into the wilderness to see what.
Oh my god!
This is what Lucian does.
That's what I was saying though. What do you do as Zeri? You don't have the same input.
Exactly. You can't do anything right here. You need your teammates to respond to the Lucian. But if you're having people on call, they are going to be walking over vision. Look how many wards there are. FPX, they are all set up with their surveillance network. They are letting nothing get past them. There is a Herald which has been put down towards the bot side of the map, which is a luxury Herald. They didn't even need to use this one. Or rather, like Ultra Prime, they put it down towards the bot side, but they can't even use it, rather than the Luxury Herald. It's a denial Herald away from FPX, which is, sure, fair enough, but they can't even get value out of it.
It's really unfortunate, too, because of the timing. I feel like there was a window where if you could try to utilize it, get some pressure up, and now you got about 50 seconds, and I think this is something where Ultra Prime are going to be willing to give over one dragon to try to delay a little bit of time for them to get these big item spikes. We did just get the Runaan's completed second item there for Doggo, but still feel like that third item spike is going to be the sweet spot for him and Yuekai.
Question is, you know, how much more gold are you going to start bleeding out? You do have Baron on the table now. You can't afford to lose a big fight because then the Baron's going to go over too, and that genuinely would be effectively the end of the game. 2 items to 2 and a bit. Maybe you could hope for a fight there. Yes, you're missing out on some components on top of them, but it's better fighting 2 completed items to 2 completed items and a bit rather than when they, as soon as FPX hit 3 items, that's another window which you can't really fight in.
Xioalaohu going in on a decade here. The rest of FPX are collapsing, and he's got Mega Gnar. This could be a good setup for FPX. They're trying to catch out Ultra Prime here. They don't have any long distance engage, and that's the issue. But they do press Ultra Prime out of the control of the Dragon Pit.
Most important thing to check is where Yuekai is when the big fight starts to turn itself into like a bigger affair. He needs to make sure he's in place to immediately get into the backline and disrupt what Deokdam and Care are doing. He's currently on the flank, but he's been spotted the whole way. He's clearing wards, but he's always seen.
He is. They know he's on the left side of the fight. Xioalaohu coming to offset that pressure on the top side of the fight. The Dragon is the focus now. Hacker trying to get in position here. Xioalaohu's just charging up the Mega Gnar bar here. Yuekai needs to find a way around the corner. Hacker, he goes in. Breath of Life used. Deokdam firing back with all the shells he's got in his hands. Xioalaohu going for the Mega Gnar into the wall with the flash play. And Xioalaohu flexes all over them as Ultra Prime are dusted.
That prehistoric Yordle makes Ultra Prime history. 3 down. They tried to get themselves that pocket of vision. They tried to find themselves that one flank which would get them into the game, but it's Xioalaohu which has crossed the T's and dotted the I's and made that into a game kind of game pace increasing play, you know. This is the kind of play which is going to stop bringing Ultra Prime into the point where they can't even fight anymore. They're going to have to wait 5 minutes until potentially getting a soul. They're going to be locked against their own turrets. The Baron buff taken too. It's going to make wave clear much harder. Most of the important things about this play has already happened by this point. It's a fight over vision, which FPX have handily won. Xioalaohu gets to teleport back in. He gets to come back in with the Mega Gnar. He's in the top lane again now.
He might be in some trouble here, actually. Yuekai! Solo Bolo and the giant shutdown to the mid laner of Ultra Prime.
Okay, a glimpse of hope in this mid lane. So that's going to shut down some of the most important parts of this Baron push coming in from FPX. That is such an important solo kill to potentially stabilize at least one lane on the map.
We got to see how this all kicked off. It was Yuekai waiting in the wings, going in as the Mega Gnar comes up, knowing that he could actually survive with the perfect execution out of the wallop. A great combo.
And what he does is he just ends up cooldown counting. Like, when he sees the Gnar in the Mega there, he sees that he's used his first W. Okay, that's one of the immediate pieces of CC done. Even though he gets hit by the Mega Gnar, it's good damage there. That's why it makes it close. He wins a 1v1 from 2 levels down, folks.
Yeah, he does. And he has been representing for Ultra Prime so far. I don't know if it's going to be enough, as FPX have found complete control here. They're looking to take a tier 2 out in the bot lane.
And I think they're going to get it. They have themselves the 6 scrubs, remember, with the Baron buff up 2 and the Milio increasing auto attack range. It's easy to just keep chipping away at this, even if it's not going to be as explosive as Tristana Bomb. That comes the Sejuani help, but it's not even going to lead to that much.
Yeah, Hacker just trying to find something, force something there, but the tier 2 falls eventually to the Swarm. And going on to an inhib tower now, still have a Baron buff for about 1 minute and 20 seconds for FPX.
They do. Can they break open the base proper with it? Gnar doesn't have the Baron buff anymore, so he can't buff up the minions, but he still has the 6 Void Grub buff, which means that he is going to just take this for free. That's going to be 1 inhibitor exposed in the mid lane.
Not much you can do about it either. About 1 minute left for the siege too, and they're looking at another inhib, but Hacker goes in, overextends. Yuekai can't hit the Shuriken flip, and there goes more turret, there goes more structures as FPX is blazing it down.
And it feels like the foundations of these turrets is once again just so fragile. We've seen both games in this series so far really utilize these Void Grubs. You have to land the defense.
The flank, the lightning crash isn't going to be enough. Big Emperor's Defied. Yuekai is ripping him to pieces, but he can't get the combo off. Look at the other side of the fight too. Care is handling him, and Yuekai gets traded 1. FPX, they just took that fight and handed them a game loss too. Doggo still firing away. FPX feeling a little bit less confident here to push up as Decade has that third queue. Deokdam goes forward though. The rest of the team backing off. TPs are available though, and they're gonna pull it as now they're coming through. They have the Crypt Bloom completed, and FPX want to bring us to 3 games in our second series. We're so close to Destiny, Nymeara. I can almost feel it as we go all the way for our first series in Shanghai and our second series of the day. FPX tied up 1-1.
It is 6 games out of our first 2 series. I hope you've been strapped in for a long one. These games have been delivering, though, in terms of the action. Yesterday, it felt like our teams were struggling to close. The games were starting to really draw themselves out. But in this one, again, it feels like the first 2 games have been about these void grubs and the relentless tower push. We haven't seen that everywhere globally. This has been a good example of how you can use these objectives if you have pushing lanes already.
Yep, indeed, and what a way to do it. It seems like blue side is king right now, at least. But we're going to take away a little break, and we'll be back.